getting my beverage ready, you should be doing the same. It's totally beverage time. Oh, that's a great sound. Sound of a fresh Zola. Join me, if you will. Toasting interesting days. Interesting days. Lift your vessel full of liquids. So, if you're following the news, you probably know that there's a little bit more information about the so-called secret society. Now, if you recall that when everybody was talking about the FBI's secret society, that unlike many people who jumped to the conclusion that this was the smoking gun, we had found the coup planners, that now it seems maybe not as credible. What did I tell you would be the result of all of this secret society tech stuff? If you remember, I told you, I'm using my phone, so I'm not using my microphone. I told you that it would turn out to be sort of a nothing. And it turns out that the actual reference said, maybe this should be at the first meeting of the secret society. The only reference to a secret society was Lisa Page, who referred to it as maybe this should be the first meeting of the secret society. In other words, they've never had a meeting. It's right there. You don't call it the first meeting if you've had a meeting already. So the secret society literally didn't exist, as we can tell from the only reference to it. The one and only reference to it, when seen in its fullness, says it doesn't exist. They've never had a meeting. And then there was the, Senator or Congressperson, Senator, I think, Johnson, who said that he had corroboration that there was, in fact, a group of FBI people who met off-site. So he said, we've got corroboration. They're talking about a secret society. I've got a whistleblower who says they're meeting secretly off-site. But it turns out those were two different things, because the people who were meeting off-site have actually met. When Lisa Page was talking about the secret society, she was saying maybe this would be the first one. In other words, they've never had a meeting. So whatever people were meeting off-site was something else. I'm just looking at the headlines today. ABC News, Business Insider, they're reporting the same thing. So now people are backing off that and saying, well, it might have been a jokey reference. What was the first thing I told you? I said there are two ways to look at this. Remember, I put the Scott Alexander filter on this? The Scott Alexander filter, he's a well-known blogger, is that if you have two explanations for a thing, and one is sort of like incredible, hard to believe, and the other one is just sort of normal, go with the normal one, right? The odds are it's just the normal one. And when somebody makes a reference to a secret society in a text message, probably that's a joke. It's very unusual that it might actually surface somebody who's planning a coup against the government. Yeah, it's not much fun for me to be correct. But remember, I told you that the Russian investigation would not turn into anything, at least in terms of threatening the president. So far, that seems right. I told you that the uranium one thing was a big nothing. So far, that seems right. And I told you that whether or not the dossier was used to get the FISA warrants, it's still going to be kind of a big nothing. Because once the dossier was created, the people who created it had information that they really sort of had to show to the FBI. It was just that sort of information, whether or not it was true. Now, if they falsified it in order to show it to the FBI, well, that's a crime and that's a big deal. But probably they just had information. They didn't know if it was true or not, but it was the sort of thing the FBI needed to know about, and the rest just happened by process. somebody saying, "You're wrong, Scott." I can never tell if that's somebody who actually is saying that, or they know that I always mock people for saying, "You're wrong, Scott." I can't tell if you're being sarcastic or not. The dumb thing Soros said about nuclear war, I haven't seen that. I did see Soros' article complaining that Soros was complaining about the social media companies brainwashing us. By the way, those of you who have been following me for a while, who is the first person who told you that the social media companies were controlling our minds in a fairly evil way? Do you know who was the first public figure to ever say that? And now, everybody's saying it. Somebody else is saying, I don't believe I'm the first person who had the thought, but I don't know if anybody said it publicly before I did. I said it years ago. And I also got, roundly criticized for saying it. And now it is considered common knowledge. So if you wait long enough, everything I tell you will become true. I suppose other people said it too, but I did say it years ago, and I was mocked when I did, but now not so much. I'm very stable. Why would she mention the secret society? Because it's a standard joke. Somebody said, why would Lisa Page put in her text a secret society? Because that's a joke. Ask me if I have ever made a joking reference to the Illuminati or secret societies. Yes, I have. How many times in my life have I made a reference to a secret society or an Illuminati meeting in a joking fashion? Maybe 75 times, if you look at my entire life. It's sort of a standard jokey thing. Most of you have probably heard people, or you've done it yourself, refer to the Illuminati or the secret society. You can't tell me that you haven't been in a conversation with people talking about a secret society, jokingly. Now it sounds like a joke. As soon as you realize it, it's a joke. So let's talk about President Trump proposes a path to citizenship for 1.8 million dreamers in exchange for $25 billion for his wall. And also probably, I think, something on chain migration. That's not a bad deal, is it? Because I know that a lot of his base is going to feel betrayed if the DACA folks get a path to citizenship. But you know what? That's what a compromise is. A compromise is you don't get all of your stuff. You get the stuff that matters the most. And what matters the most is probably chain migration and border security. So it's not a bad deal. It's not a bad deal at all. Well, there might be some kind of a sorting system. If they've committed crimes, maybe they go back. If they don't have jobs, maybe they can't become citizens. So here's the thing. Those of you who are saying, no amnesty, no amnesty, keep in mind that used to make sense. If you had a porous border, you can't give amnesty. Because if you do, everybody just comes over to get some more amnesty, right? So the one and only situation in which amnesty over a long period is probably going to be a sort of a 10-year period of good behavior before you can get it. The only way that makes sense is in today's world with a President Trump who's going to seal the border and get rid of chain migration. Under those conditions only, you don't have to worry so much about people sneaking into the country because they'll get some amnesty if they just wait long enough. That's the whole point, is you seal the border, you get rid of the relatives coming over, the indirect relatives, And in that case, then you don't have to worry so much about the DACA folks creating a bad precedent. So this deal is there to be had. And the Democrats would be a little bit crazy not to take it, I think. Now, they may not take it because they're crazy, but it's a good deal. And what will that do to the president's base? What will it do to the president's base if he allows a path to amnesty, no matter how difficult, for those people, and he also gets his wall? How bad will that be for his base? Not bad. Not bad at all. It won't be bad at all. Because he came into the job saying he's a deal maker. He did not come into the job saying he's a dictator. That was the other team. It's the other team that called him a dictator. He's a deal maker. That's what he sold to his side. I'm a deal maker. It's not a deal unless both sides are given a little, and he had this to give, and so he gave it, or at least he's offered it. It's on the table. So, does that make him a liar? Not really. Not really. Because he had two promises. One, throw everybody out who was not legal. And two, he was a deal maker. If he finds us a deal that's the best deal he can make, and it addresses the immigration problem, albeit in different ways than, shipping back the people who are here and have been good citizens otherwise, his base is going to forgive him. And they're going to do it pretty quickly. Do you remember how long ago Steve Bannon worked in the White House? Mike Cernovich tweeted this recently, and you forget it was only 3 weeks ago. It feels like months already. So by 2018 election, we're not even going to be talking about this anymore if they made a deal today. We wouldn't even be talking about it. And then he cleverly included Canadian border security as part of his proposal. Because you know what? We got to keep those damn Canadians out of this country. They're going to bring their niceness over here, and the next thing you know, we're all going to be saying words differently and being nice to each other, and I don't think we can have any of that. Half of the power of being American is that we're not nice all the time. It is a little bit of a superpower. They just announced a deal. Did they announce a deal is reached? I'm going to CNN. Nope, I don't see it on CNN. All right. Bannon was going in August. Well, not really. You love my blind spots. How do you know the blind spots are mine? If you know you disagree with me, how do you know the problem's on my end? Keep in mind the context here is that I have predicted correctly across a wide variety of national outcomes, a pretty wide variety of things. And my predictions are, if they don't scare you already, you haven't been paying attention. So if you were to compare your theory of things to mine, you would be comparing them to someone who has been right a whole lot. Now, keep in mind, I'm completely aware that in any other context, it would just be gross for me to be doing a victory lap. But remember, what I'm doing in public is I'm making predictions, as I have been for 2 years. I'm making predictions, and then I'm telling you how they came out, and you get to watch them come out as well. I will do a Periscope in which I teach you how to use the tools of prediction the way I've been using them, now that you see that they've been weirdly accurate. My predictions are common sense. No, they're not. If they were common, everybody would make the same decision. As I write in my book, Win Bigly, I think that's where I wrote it, common sense is an illusion. Common sense is what we think we have and other people don't. But guess what? They think they have it and you don't. There is no such thing as common sense. It's not a thing. Forgets about wrong predictions. Well, I would invite anybody to list my wrong predictions. But when I do, I get stuff like this. People say, you said Trump would win in a landslide, and it was only an electoral college victory that his side said was a landslide. So you're totally wrong. Well, what were the odds when nobody thought he could win? What were the odds that when I said he'd win in a landslide, that he had enough of an electoral victory? And certainly if you look at the map of which counties voted for him, from an electoral basis, it was kind of landslidey, because if you take 2 states out of there, it's just a total rout. And the 2 states that you take out are the ones he didn't bother with. You know, he barely campaigned in them. There was no point. You can't wait till my turn on the dossier. So some of you are saying I'm going to be wrong on the dossier, and that's going to turn out to be a crime there. Well, let me be as specific as possible so that you can check my prediction as specifically as possible. We will never know what was in the heads of people, but that's also not illegal. As long as the people who gave the dossier information to the FBI had reason to believe that it might have been true or enough of it was true that it could cause a problem, then everybody just did what they were supposed to do. You know, opposition research, totally legal, totally normal. You find something that you think the FBI needs to see, and then you show it to them. Totally normal. That's not illegal. FBI takes that information and says, we don't know if it's true, but it's enough for us to look into it, and then they start looking into it. No crime. That's a bunch of people doing what they do. That's all it is. Yeah, obviously there were a lot of people who thought Trump would win. As far as I know, I'm the only person who offered a specific set of reasons that were predictive. You know, the persuasion talent in particular, and the idea that there were shy Trump supporters who were not showing up in polls. That turned out to be correct as well. You're ignoring the point that the info was used to get the FISA. No, I'm not ignoring the fact that the dossier was used to get the FISA warrant. I'm saying that if the dossier was created for opposition research, which it was, and they came upon something that needed to be given to the FBI, they kind of had to do it. And if the FBI had it, and they needed to research it, because it was at least a big enough question that was worth researching, the question of whether they got FISA warrants or not is probably just normal, routine FBI business. Hey, we've got this information. We cannot confirm it's true. But if we had a FISA warrant, we probably could. How about giving us a FISA warrant? And then we'll find out if there's something here or not. That's how I think it's going to go. I think it's going to look like a bunch of people doing what their jobs were, and that's all. Yeah, Michael Moore was concerned that he would win as well. Yeah. So I'm not saying I'm the only person who predicted he would win, and in Win Bigly I list prominently a number of people who also predicted he would win. I'm telling you that you have to look at my body of predictions, because if you look at any one, it could be a coincidence, could be a lucky guess. So you have to look at 2 years of predictions and you're going to see some scary stuff. Give us something? Talk about Davos. I think I'll wait for that. Ann Coulter also predicted? Yes. I'm ignoring the fact that the dossier was a hit job from the beginning. Well, if it's proven that that's what it was, then I would be wrong, right? Assuming that that also means that there was a crime involved. We can wait. So you have my prediction, and we can just wait till it's proven or disproven. Is there anyone I'd like to see go down? You mean somebody that I think needs to go to jail or something? Nobody comes to mind. Kerry, there's now some stories about Kerry that I wouldn't necessarily think are credible yet. Could be. All right. That they unmasked Americans. They may have unmasked people, but we don't know yet if they had a good reason that would, pass muster for just doing their job. We don't know yet. All right, I'm going to sign off now. I just wanted to share with you that at least it's starting to look like I'm right, that the secret society was not a coup attempt, just a joke. And I was right on Oprah. Got that one right too. I might be right on North Korea. So if you're going to be impressed, you should be impressed about my North Korea prediction about a long-term unification plan in return for them to become sort of a Sweden without nuclear weapons and guaranteed security by the big countries around them. I'm cheesing off my base. Well, if people stop watching me because my predictions are accurate, I guess I can live with that. Wrong on deep state? I said deep state exists. You just have to define it to be more ordinary, but it exists. All right. Fox-Trump immigration framework. I don't know what that means. Kim thinks that they will unify under his rule. I'll bet he doesn't. I'll bet he doesn't think that. He might be thinking that if they unified and someday had an election, that maybe his, kids or grandkids would have name recognition and lots of money and maybe they could win. He might be thinking that. All right. I said I was going to leave, and I swear I'm going to leave now. I will